Imagine being cast out by your own family, not for a crime, but for daring to succeed on your own terms. Now, picture that same family years later at your doorstep, broken and begging for the very help they once denied you. That's my story. It's a tale of betrayal, heartbreaking abandonment, and ultimately, a journey to reclaiming my own power. Hello, Reddit. Or well, hello to whoever's listening. I never thought I'd be sharing the deepest parts of my life like this, but here I am. My world was completely flipped upside down, not in a way I ever saw coming. My parents threw me out of our home. And why? Because I managed to pay for my MBA without their invaluable assistance, and my older sister, Sarah, the golden child, simply couldn't stand it. It's a long, winding road, but I need to tell it, and maybe, just maybe, you can offer some guidance, or at least a virtual shoulder to cry on. Let me paint a picture of my family dynamics for you. I've always been the underdog, the last in line, the one who never quite fit. From the moment I was born, it was clear my sister was the favorite. Growing up in the suburbs just outside Chicago, my parents would throw a parade if Sarah got an A. For me, it was more like, oh cool, what's for dinner? You get the idea. Sarah was always the center of attention. She seemed to effortlessly excel at everything, prettier, more outgoing, always in the lead role in school plays, captain of the sports team, perfect grades. Me, I was the awkward, bookish kid, preferring to hide in my room with a good book than be in the spotlight. My parents adored Sarah. She was their prodigy. When she got into a prestigious business school, they covered absolutely everything. Her tuition, the latest fashionable clothes, her fancy apartment downtown, even her lavish trips to Cancun for spring break. They beamed with pride, constantly boasting to anyone who would listen about their incredibly successful daughter. I just kept my head down, understanding early on that I'd have to figure things out for myself. I worked part-time jobs and took out loans all through college, managing to earn honors in computer science. Was there a celebration for me? No. My mother simply said, "Dear, that's nice. Have you seen the pictures from Sarah's graduation? Wasn't she beautiful?" It stung, but I was used to it. In the present, I'd spent the last few years as a project manager for a digital company. It paid the bills, it was a good job, but I hungered for more. I dreamt of launching my own business, climbing to top management, truly making my mark. So, I decided to apply for an MBA program at a highly respected university. The catch? The tuition was astronomical. 6 figures. I held on to a sliver of hope that my parents might actually support me. After all, they'd funded Sarah's entire education, right? One evening, after a family dinner, I sat them down at our favorite restaurant. To my surprise, the entire conversation had revolved around Sarah's latest achievement. I carefully laid out my plan for them, explaining the school, how it would boost my career, and then, as tactfully as I could, brought up the tuition. The expressions on their faces, you'd think I'd asked them to sell their kidneys. They flat out told me they couldn't pay for my tuition, which fine. I get it. MBAs are expensive. But what really infuriated me was their refusal to even co-sign a loan. I wasn't asking them to pay for everything, just to help me avoid drowning in debt for the rest of my life. Their logic: we've already covered Sarah's tuition. Now, it's time for us to think about our future. The worst part, they were pouring all their savings into expanding the family restaurant. What I was hearing was unbelievable. So, you could afford Sarah's entire education, but you can't even co-sign a loan for me? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My mother, without missing a beat, boldly replied, "Well, honey, Sarah's education was an investment in the family business. Your MBA? That's only for you, isn't it?" Only for me. As if I wasn't family. As if my success meant nothing to them. I was completely lost. It felt like my parents were deliberately putting up roadblocks, but I refused to let this opportunity slip away. They could be prudent and frugal when it came to me, but had no problem splurging on Sarah. I had no choice but to turn to my Aunt Margaret. Now, Aunt Margaret, my dad's older sister, is a completely different breed from my parents. She's a neurosurgeon, far more successful than both of them, and refreshingly grounded. She'd always been kind to me, but there was always this strange, simmering tension between her and my parents at family gatherings. They'd pretend to be courteous, but I could sense their resentment towards her success. My dad, in particular, hated being overshadowed. When I was younger, I'd overhear arguments where he accused Aunt Margaret of being conceited and talking badly about him. At first, I was hesitant to involve her, but I was desperate. One day, I called her, explaining my situation, my parents' refusal, and how much this MBA meant to me. Aunt Margaret didn't hesitate for a second. "Of course I'll help," she said. "Why didn't you come to me sooner? It would be an honor to invest in your future. I've always known you had so much promise." I felt a wave of immense gratitude wash over me, but also a growing dread. My dad would absolutely lose his mind if he found out I'd gone behind his back to his sister for money. I pleaded with Aunt Margaret to keep it a secret, and understanding the complex family dynamics, she agreed. For a while, everything was fine. My tuition was covered, and I was preparing to start my MBA. I felt a mix of anxiety and optimism, rare sense of winning for once. By the way, if you're still with me, still reeling from this, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, there are more unbelievable twists to come. That's when Sarah decided to utterly destroy everything. To this day, I don't know how she found out I'd asked Aunt Margaret for help. Maybe she snooped through my emails or overheard a phone call. But she did find out, and as the golden child, she simply couldn't let it go. She had to make it a grand, theatrical spectacle. One evening, I came home, excited to share news about my upcoming MBA orientation. But as soon as I walked through the door, I felt it, a suffocating silence, the air thick with tension. My heart sank. Walking into the living room, I saw all my belongings, my books, my clothes, even my bedding, packed away in boxes. It felt like the house itself was trying to erase me. My parents sat on the couch, their faces a horrifying mix of disappointment and pure rage. Sarah stood off to the side, wearing this smug, self-satisfied smirk. It felt like I'd walked into a twisted intervention. My father wasted no time. "Explain this," he demanded, tossing a pile of papers at me. My hands trembled as I picked them up, not understanding a word he was saying. That's when I realized Sarah had completely lost her mind. She had fabricated a series of emails between Aunt Margaret and me, making it look like I was betraying the family. The emails implied I'd given Aunt Margaret our family restaurant's trade secrets, recipes, supplier details, even financial information, in exchange for my tuition. The absurdity of it all. I barely had access to any of that, but Sarah did. My eyes widened in disbelief. Sarah had clearly gone through my laptop, found some legitimate emails I'd sent to Aunt Margaret, and then photoshopped or manipulated them to paint me as some kind of traitor. "This isn't real," I stammered, my voice breaking. "These emails are fake. I would never do this." But my parents didn't even listen. My mother was openly weeping, and my dad's face was beet red with fury. "We trusted you," he spat. "And you stabbed us in the back." They trusted Sarah. They always did, no matter what I said. It felt like I was vanishing, that all the years I'd spent being a good daughter, working hard, never causing trouble, were absolutely meaningless. I knew right then that in their eyes, I would always be second best. They would always doubt me. "You have to go," my father said in a chillingly cold tone. "We won't have a traitor in this house." I pleaded with them, begged them to reconsider. I tried to explain the MBA, how Aunt Margaret was simply helping me, just like they had helped Sarah. My parents didn't care. They called me a traitor and refused to engage. Sarah just stood there, her arrogant expression unwavering. Her eyes screamed louder than any words could. She had won. The sister she always saw as a rival was finally gone. That was it. I left with just a few boxes of my belongings and the clothes on my back. As I loaded my car, I saw the neighbors peeking through their windows, no doubt curious about the drama. I felt utterly alone, completely deceived, and profoundly embarrassed. As soon as I was in my car, I called Aunt Margaret, sobbing so hard I couldn't speak. Without asking any questions, she told me to come straight to her apartment. I'm not sure how I would have made it through without her. I've been living with Aunt Margaret ever since. She's offered me a place to stay and reiterated her commitment to helping with my MBA. She's been an incredible support system. Still, that night plays over and over in my mind. Sarah's arrogant face, my parents glaring at me like a criminal, all my possessions packed away. I don't know what to do, Reddit. Part of me wants to fight back, to prove Sarah lied. If I looked closely enough, I could find proof those emails were forged. But another part of me just wants to cut all ties and never look back. Why should I fight for people so eager to believe the worst of me? How do I even begin to comprehend this betrayal? How do I move on when my own family has abandoned me? My MBA program starts in a few weeks, and I should be thrilled, but instead, I'm grappling with this emotional trauma. I keep replaying everything, wondering if I missed clues. Was Sarah always this cunning? Were my parents always this eager to discard me? How can I ever trust anyone again after this? Aunt Margaret advises me to focus on the opportunities my MBA will bring. That success is the best revenge, but it's so hard to look past the hurt and the rage right now. Any guidance on how to reconstruct my life, given that my own sister would go to such lengths to harm me? How do I handle this when I feel so damaged inside? And how do I interact with my MBA instructors and classmates when I feel like I'm drowning? Give me a lifeline, Reddit, if you can. Update 1. It's been a long time, 3 years to be precise, since I last poured my heart out about my family kicking me out. A lot has happened, and I wanted to let you all know how things have progressed. First, I finished my MBA program, and it changed me profoundly. I started in a whirlwind of emotional chaos, but I channeled all that raw energy into my studies. I graduated at the top of my class, but it wasn't easy. The insecure girl who constantly felt inferior is gone, replaced by a woman confident in her abilities, unafraid to speak her mind. After graduating, I landed a job at a prestigious consulting firm. I love my work, even though it's demanding. For the first time in my life, I'm in an environment where my skills and hard work are truly valued. No more living in anyone's shadow. Through all of this, Aunt Margaret has been my rock. She's become the loving family I never had, far more than just a place to stay. We have weekly dinners, discussing everything from her most intriguing medical cases to my latest professional challenges. I've learned so much from her about standing up for myself and appreciating my own worth. For 3 years, there was radio silence from Sarah and my parents. No emails, no texts, no phone calls. It hurt intensely at first, but as time went on, I came to realize that their absence allowed me to grow in ways I never could have while living under their toxic roof. I built a proud life for myself, free from the constant need for approval and endless comparisons. But life, as we know, can be incredibly unpredictable. Last Saturday, just when I thought I had everything figured out, Sarah showed up at my door. I almost didn't recognize her. The air of superiority, the fancy clothes, they were gone. She was wearing a simple, worn sweater and jeans, with dark circles under her eyes and her hair hastily pulled back. She looked utterly defeated. "Hey," she said, her voice small. "Can we talk?" Curiosity, a morbid sense of it, overcame my desire to slam the door in her face. I opened it wider. Sarah sat uncomfortably on my couch, fidgeting. Finally, she blurted out, "I need your help. The restaurant is having problems. Serious problems. The family business," she explained, was on the brink of bankruptcy. My parents' much anticipated, massive expansion had been a complete disaster. They'd overextended themselves, taking out huge loans, and were now drowning in debt. "Dad's talking about filing for bankruptcy," her voice broke. "Mom is a mess. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything, but I can't fix this." As I listened, a whirlwind of emotions crashed over me. There was a sick sense of satisfaction, a feeling of, wasn't this retribution for how they treated me? But also a strange twinge of, not quite pity, but something close to it. "Why are you telling me this?" I inquired, my voice flat. "What do you expect me to do?" Sarah's eyes, filled with desperation, met mine. "You're doing so well at your new job with your MBA. I was hoping, maybe you could help. Offer some guidance, or..." She didn't finish the sentence, but I understood. She wanted money. The black sheep being rescued by the golden child. The irony was almost unbearable. "Let me get this straight," I said, keeping my voice calm. "After everything that happened, after 3 years of silence, you show up asking for help?" Sarah had the grace to look genuinely embarrassed. Quietly, she said, "I know I messed up. I felt so envious, okay? You were always so capable and intelligent. I lost it when I found out Aunt Margaret was helping you. I'm sorry." 3 years, and all she could manage was "I'm sorry." It was woefully insufficient. "Sorry doesn't cut it, Sarah," I responded. "You have no idea what I went through because of what you did." "I know," she replied, her eyes welling with tears. "But we're still related, aren't we? Family helps family. Just please think about it." Family. The word hit me hard. After everything, were we still related? I told Sarah I needed time to think. With a disappointed expression, she left her number and walked out. And now, here I am, trying to decide what to do. On one hand, I've worked so incredibly hard to build this new life for myself. The familial drama, the incessant comparisons, the crushing sense of inadequacy, it's all finally left me. Do I really want to become entangled in all of it again? But a tiny, stubborn part of me still cares. I feel something when I think about my parents facing bankruptcy. Not quite pity, but certainly not disinterest. There's also a part of me that sees this as a chance to show them what they lost when they rejected me, to definitively prove that I am not the failure they always believed me to be. But is it worth it? After the way they treated me, do I owe them anything? And even if I did help, would things truly change? Or would I always be the second best daughter, regardless of what I did? Reddit, I'm conflicted. How would you respond if you were me? Should I protect myself and let my family work out their own problems? Or should I assist them and run the risk of getting hurt again? I've been thinking about it for days, and I'm still not convinced. A part of me wants to step up, offer them a helping hand, and pull them out of this mess. It might even present an opportunity to re-establish our relationship on more equal terms. Another part of me, though, is screaming to run away. I'm still recovering from the profound damage they caused me. Would I truly want to expose myself to that suffering once more? Aunt Margaret and I have discussed it as usual. She's been encouraging, telling me she'll support me no matter what. But she also cautioned me. Sometimes, she said, helping others means sacrificing yourself. Make sure you're not setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. My coworkers have noticed I've been distracted lately. Some have listened sympathetically, though I haven't told them the specifics. One of them said, "Sometimes the most professional thing you can do is to keep your personal life separate from your work." That statement has stayed with me. The MBA courses on crisis management and corporate turnarounds are still fresh in my mind. It's likely I could help them, provide a strategy for escaping this situation. But should I? Am I truly accountable? And what about Sarah's apology? Is it sufficient? Is this just another ploy, or can I believe that she truly feels bad? I'm also concerned about how it might affect my own financial security. Even though I'm doing well now, I'm not exactly making a ton of money. Assisting them might jeopardize my future ambitions. One thing is certain. This time, whatever I decide, it will be on my terms. I've changed from being that insecure, terrified girl. No matter what occurs with my family, I will always be a strong, accomplished woman who recognizes her value. What do you think, Reddit? Should I put my own health first and let my family deal with the fallout from their choices? Or should I offer them assistance? I'd greatly benefit from an independent viewpoint on this. Update 2, it's me again, Reddit. Things have taken such a crazy turn since my previous update that I can't believe I'm back so quickly. Remember how I debated whether or not to help my family with their restaurant problems? The cosmos, however, decided to give me yet another surprise. A week after Sarah's visit, my parents showed up at my workplace. You read that correctly, my office. They just showed up in the lobby one afternoon, somehow having figured out where I worked. Talk about a systemic shock. My assistant buzzed me while I was in the middle of a meeting, letting me know 2 people were asking to see me. My heart almost stopped when she described them. It felt as though I was walking to my own execution. I excused myself from the meeting and proceeded to the lobby. My parents were there, looking older and more worn out than I'd remembered. Dad's shoulders were hunched in a way I'd never seen before, and Mom's hair had turned completely gray. The weight of 3 years of cold silence hung between us as we simply stared at one another for a full minute. Dad finally stated, "We need to talk," his voice rough, yet oddly diminutive. I took them to a nearby coffee shop. I didn't want to have this discussion at work. An uneasy hush descended upon us as we sat down with our beverages. Determined not to make things easy for them, I waited for them to speak. Mom was the first to break. "We were wrong," she added, her voice shaky. "We ought never to have expelled you. We ought to have paid attention to you. We sincerely apologize. Over the last 3 years, I had dreamed of this moment countless times, but now that it was actually happening, I felt nothing. Only a hollow emptiness. No relief, no joy, not even rage." Dad added, his voice strained, "You should return home. We can overcome this difficult period as a family once more." To give myself some time to process, I took a long drink of my coffee. "Why now?" I finally inquired. "Why after 3 years of silence?" They looked at each other, and I realized there was much more to this tale. The depth of their desperation became evident as they began to explain. The restaurant was a total failure, not merely having financial difficulties. In addition to going overboard with the expansion, they had been taking dangerous shortcuts and breaking the law to stay afloat. Tax evasion, health code infractions, even some dubious supplier transactions. They now faced possible criminal penalties in addition to bankruptcy. "We need your help," Dad said, his voice just audible above a whisper. Your business knowledge, your connections, you could save us. Stunned, I sat there. My parents, who had dismissed me on false pretenses and had always viewed me as second best, now saw me as their only hope. Let me get this straight, I remarked, finding it difficult to maintain my composure. You kicked me out, believed the worst of me without any proof, didn't contact me for 3 years, and now you want me to bail you out of your illegal activities? Mom attempted to grasp my hand as she reached across the table. I instinctively retreated. With tears in her eyes, she continued, We know we don't deserve your help. However, we remain family. We're at a loss on what to do, so please. Family. That word was used once more. However, as I observed them, I came to the realization that they were no longer members of my family. Aunt Margaret? A member of my family. The friends I had established at work and in my MBA program, who respected me for who I was. They were my family. I inhaled deeply. I'm sorry, I said, and I was surprised at how composed I felt. But I'm unable to assist you. What you're asking isn't just about money. You're asking me to sacrifice all I've worked so hard to achieve, including my job and my principles. I'm not capable of doing it. Their shocked expressions were nearly funny. They obviously didn't think I would say no. Anger colored Dad's face. After everything we've done for you, I interrupted him. What have you done for me? You mean denying me support for my education when you paid for Sarah's? Excluding me on false pretenses and favoring her throughout my entire life. Now Mom was crying aloud. Please, sweetie, we'll lose everything. I experienced a little pang of guilt then. But then I thought back on the previous 3 years, the hardships, the suffering, and the incredible growth and accomplishments I had made on my own. I stood up. I'm sorry you're in this situation, but these are the results of your own actions. I am unable to save you. We'll be ruined. Dad yelled as I turned to go. Is that your preference? I stopped and turned to face them. I want you to accept responsibility for your actions, I stated. I want you to understand how much you lost when you threw me out. What I really want, though, is to be free of your drama and manipulation. I left my parents behind and walked out of the coffee shop. As I entered the street, I felt as though a monumental burden had been lifted. I had finally chosen myself, set my boundaries, and confronted them. However, the tale doesn't stop there. I gave that confrontation a lot of thought. I came to the realization that merely leaving was insufficient. My parents' actions were unlawful, and if they persisted, others might suffer harm. Therefore, I had to make a tough choice. I reported what I learned about the restaurant's unlawful operations to the appropriate authorities, including the police, the IRS, and the health department. Although I knew it was the right decision, it wasn't an easy one. The consequences were severe and quick. Sarah called me, screaming and sobbing, accusing me of ruining the family. I don't know what grounds my parents believed they had, but they alternated between pleading for assistance and threatening legal action in their voicemails. But I didn't back down. I informed the authorities of what I knew and made it apparent that I was not involved in any unlawful activity. Aunt Margaret was there for me during those difficult few weeks, reassuring me that I was acting morally. Although the inquiry is still underway, the eatery has reportedly been closed while a thorough audit is conducted. Sarah and my parents are facing severe legal repercussions. It's not a joyous conclusion, no, but it is a fair one. For me, I'm doing all right, actually better than all right. There's a profound feeling of closure. The harmful family dynamics that hindered me for so long have now been irrevocably broken. I have a successful career. I've even received an approach regarding a possible promotion. I feel like I've found a true professional home because of how supportive my co-workers have been during this process. I've never been closer to Aunt Margaret. After everything calms down, we're arranging a trip together, so we have something truly wonderful to look forward to after all this worry. I'm not going to act like it's been simple. There are times when I question whether I made the correct decision, when I feel a pang of guilt. However, I know I made the right choice when I think back on all the suffering they inflicted on me, including the years of manipulation and partiality. Here I am then. 3 years ago, I felt confused and alone after being evicted from my house. Today, I am independent, prosperous in my work, surrounded by individuals who truly care about me, and at last free from my family's poisonous influence. Although some may have wished for a joyous family reunion, this is my tale, and I'm proud of the progress I've made. Remember this: if you're struggling with toxic family members or tough choices, you have the right to put your own health first. You are entitled to establish limits. And sometimes, the family you choose matters more than the one you were born into. I appreciate Reddit's support along this journey. You have no idea how much your guidance and assistance have meant. Cheers to fresh starts and making our own happiness. Thank you for watching. What would you have done in my place? Is there a line you draw, even for family? Tell me what you think. I really want to know. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories.